Welcome today, everybody. I have Dolores. Dolores has been a patient of ours for over 10 years. She's going to be telling you guys about a wonderful story about how she initially found us and a procedure that she went through known as Genicular Artery Embolization. So she's been a patient of ours, again, for over 10 years and initially went through what's called the gel treatment. Some of you know that as the rooster comb injection, or it's also called Viscosupplementation. She went through this and did great for about 10 years. And then, sometimes we reach a point to where these injections just aren't helping anymore. And then, of course, she did not want a knee replacement, right?
No.
So tell us, tell us how you originally found us 10 years ago.
So 10 years ago, I saw this ad, and it was on TV. I made an appointment. I went to go see them. They took x-rays. They explained to me about the procedure that was going to be done to me.
And I'm assuming we probably diagnosed you with arthritis.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
I was diagnosed with arthritis.
Yes.
And they injected me that day, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that day it was called the rooster's comb.
The rooster comb,
Yes,
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
what
so
I
that's
first-
the little red thing on top
Yes.
of the rooster set.
Exactly.
So this is a lot of patients kind of jokingly say, "Oh, this is the chicken juice."
Yeah.
And so the history behind that is the rooster comb is cartilage,
Yes.
and our cartilage has a fluid in it called hyaluronic acid.
Oh, I see.
Hyaluronic acid is the building block of your natural joint fluid.
Oh, wow.
That's called synovial fluid. And so your body makes hyaluronic acid, and this little thing on top of the rooster's head is chocked full of hyaluronic acid.
Wow.
So what they do is they extract the hyaluronic acid from the rooster comb.
Mhm.
I don't know if they kill the roosters, and I don't think they do, but
No.
a lot of dead roosters. But no. So then they purified in a laboratory, and they started doing this in the 1950s. And what they were doing was they were doing these treatments on racehorses.
Wow.
And they saw that racehorses continued to run longer and faster as they aged.
Amazing.
It is pretty cool. And so veterinarians did this on racehorses forever, and they still do it. We even treat some veterinarians that still just, oh, I know exactly what this is. We do this on our racehorses. I'm like, oh yeah, it's been done since the 1950s. So then in the 1970s in Europe, an Italian pharmaceutical company called Fidia Pharma, F-I-D-I-A, they started making a one for humans, and they started researching it. And so they went through the initial trials, and they were the first to get FDA approved in the United States in 1994. So we're talking 30 years ago, this was FDA approved.
Yeah.
Still today, most patients don't realize that viscosupplementation is an option because a lot of doctors don't do it anymore. Unfortunately, sometimes doctors only do what they get paid well to do. We don't make a lot of money on gel shots anymore, and so a lot of physicians have cut it out of their practice, and they just don't offer it to patients because we buy the product, and if the insurance company doesn't pay us, then we have to eat the cost.
Yeah.
Doctors are like, it's too risky for me to do it. I'm not even going to do it anymore. So they just say, well, we're going to give you a steroid shot, and we can do this about every 4 to 6 months safely. And if you don't do as well with steroid shots, guess what? I got a knee replacement for you. But who wants to jump that drastically from a steroid shot all the way to a knee replacement? So there's a place for viscosupplementation. Does it help every patient? Clearly not. But it works well in a lot of patients. And the nice thing is it can work well for a really long time. Gel shots, they're not a medication.
No.
Yeah, so they're a natural product that's sourced again from that rooster comb. There's new ways to make it now. They make it actually in a laboratory from a bacterium that ferments hyaluronic acid naturally. So if patients are allergic to chicken or roosters, then of course we can use a different product. But nevertheless, patients can go through these treatments year after year after year. You can get them every 6 months if you need it every 6 months. And they can get it forever.
Yeah.
There's no long-term side effects because it's all natural. Your joint's making hyaluronic acid as it is.
Wow.
So all we're doing is supplementing the joint with new, fresh, good quality hyaluronic acid, kind of like changing the oil in your car.
Oh, yeah.
You know how after you've run your car for a period of time, your oil turns from amber to black.
Yes.
And so kind of think about that after your joint oil has been in there a long time and it's inflamed, the quality is not very good. So we're injecting you with new, fresh, good quality hyaluronic acid. It's very slippery, it's very thick,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a good quantity. We
Yeah.
rebuild the volume of hyaluronic acid. So as a patient develops more and more arthritis, cartilage starts deteriorating, and the cartilage is actually what secretes hyaluronic acid along with the synovial membrane. So as all that damage messes up the joint, our joints start becoming deficient, making natural joint fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we inject a supplement of,
Oh, I see.
and they call it visco for viscosity supplementation, because we're
Yeah.
adding new fluid to your joint. So that's how those treatments work. Tell us about that process. So you went through your first injection the very first day.
First day.
So most patients can get injected their very first day when
Yeah.
they come to us. So that's kind of the nice thing. We're very efficient in how we do all that.
Exactly.
We have tons of products. There's probably 10 or
Mhm.
12 different products. We generally have most all of them.
Yeah. So they were gonna try different, to see which one would work.
Yeah.
So that's the first one that they injected me with. So I didn't see no improvement, so I went the second time because it was 5 times that I had to go to
And
be
this
injected.
this is how long apart?
Once a week. So then I went the second week and I asked the girl that shoots the cold spray in
Yeah.
the knee. I said,
She's pretty good at it
Yeah.
too, because she literally
exactly
holds it
from
about this
there,
far.
it's
Yeah.
all the way over here. And
So
I said,
the cold spray is a numbing spray.
Yes.
And it freezes the skin so
before-
that
yeah.
the needle doesn't hurt. Tell me what you thought about the injection. Was it painful?
No, it didn't hurt at all.
I think the cold spray hurts worse than the actual needle poke
Well, I
itself.
guess because I was in pain, it didn't bother me.
Oh, true.
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's worse, your knee pain or a little
Yeah,
stick?
exactly.
Exactly.
So they did the spray second time, and that's when I told the girl, I said, I don't know if I did the right thing. And she goes, no, you have to wait. She goes,
Yeah.
some people experience it the first time or the second time. Maybe you're going to be one of the ones that is going to experience on the third time.
In terms of pain relief.
Yes.
That's
So when
right.
I went the third time to be injected, man, that's when I felt
It
great.
sort of magically started getting
Yeah,
better, right?
It
Yeah,
started
exactly.
getting better. I had no pain, and this lasted for years. I want to say 10 years.
So a single series of injections. So she had 5 injections of a product called Hyaluronic. This was the original product developed in Italy that was FDA approved in 1994. She had 1 shot a week for 5 weeks and got 10 years of relief.
Exactly.
So that's pretty amazing. This is not the norm. We don't typically recommend that long of a time frame in between series. Normally what's recommended is we do an injection series every 6 months or once a year, because that original fluid, when we injected it, was actually all absorbed by your knee within 6 months.
Yeah.
Now you continue to get benefit because it reduced the inflammation that was there,
Yeah.
and then you felt fine. And so this is often it's something that a lot of patients don't understand, is you can have really severe arthritis and not have any pain whatsoever.
Okay.
It sneaks up on patients sometimes, and sometimes by the time they do their first x-ray, they're literally bone to bone. But you're a prime example. So you had significant arthritis to begin with.
Yes.
Tell me about your knee pain and what it felt like before the injections.
Before the injections, I was in a lot of pain. My knee was getting, swollen. I couldn't bend it. I couldn't walk. And that's why when I saw that commercial on the arthritis, I said, well, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And I did, and
What do you
I
have to
loved
lose?
it. Yeah, exactly. So
Exactly.
it worked fine for me.
That's great. And so we saw 10 years of relief. And so I generally will tell patients the biggest mistake I tend to see patients make, and this is going to be a prime example, which is why we had to do something different for her, is they'll get injected the first time, they'll do that series, and then they'll forget about it, and they'll say, oh, my knee feels great. Maybe we didn't do a wonderful job explaining this to you at the beginning, but you're really meant to do it every 6 months or once a year at minimum to maintain the improvement long term.
Yes.
Now, of course, I think anyone would raise their hand for 10 years of relief from one
Oh my
series of
God,
injections.
yes,
Yeah, that's
of course.
amazing. So, but for patients that have, ongoing issues, we need to inject them every 6 months to a year because their pain will come back. And if we get behind the inflammatory cascade or behind the curve, it's really hard to catch up. So you came back 10 years later.
10 years later.
And then tell me about what happened.
Okay, so COVID was going on. Of course, everybody, wasn't working. I started feeling a little pain on my knee, and I said, well, before it starts getting worse, I'm gonna call the arthritis center again
Yes.
to see if they can see me.
Right.
Come to figure that they were closed. They had moved to a new address.
Yes.
So this is when I came here.
Yes.
And I was so glad that I found it because I said, oh my God, thank God it's the same people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so we were in Stone Oak
Yes.
for 17 years, I think.
Yes.
We're in Stone Oak. And we finally built our own building, and we're right here in Chavado Park, right off of 1604 between Northwest Military and Bitters.
So they took x-rays, they spoke to me, started injecting me with the gel.
Yep, so we did the same process over
same
again.
process, gel and then steroid, and then after that, that didn't work. So then after I came and they spoke to me and they asked me how I was doing, and I told them, well, I'm having pain still, it doesn't seem to be helping. So then they told me that I probably would have to get a knee replacement, and that was the last thing that I did not want. So then they said that they had this new procedure, and so I said, okay, I'll try it.
Anything but surgery, right?
Anything but surgery. So I tried it, and oh my God, it was the best thing that I ever did.
So tell me your pain level. So you got injected initially 10 years ago.
Yes.
You did great for 10 years.
Yeah.
You came back in. What was your pain level when
Oh
you
my
came back
God,
in?
my pain level was 10.
It was bad.
It was very bad.
What-
Very bad.
Describe like your daily activities and what it felt
Oh,
like.
daily activities. I was working. I had to, of course, speak to my boss. Say, hey, I'm having knee problems.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Take as many breaks as you can.
Do you stand at work or do
Oh
you
yeah,
sit? Oh, you
I stand.
Oh.
I stand my 8 hours.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh my
Up
goodness.
and down stairs, long hallways.
Oh, geez.
And it's like, oh my God, yeah. I would ice it as much as I could, but of course that didn't help.
Right.
The pain was only all day long, and I would ice it, and of course it would numb it for a little bit,
Sure.
10 to 15 minutes.
Right.
But I kept going. I started taking a leave at that time, and
So long term Aleve use, it's terrible for your, it's terrible for your
It is.
kidneys, terrible for your
Yes.
stomach. We have increased incidence of stroke and heart attack with non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. People think because they're over the counter that they're always safe.
But,
They're safe in small doses for short periods of time, but man, we can't stay on these things for years
not
and years and
every
years.
day. Yeah.
It will naproxen especially can torch your kidneys.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's very bad.
Yeah.
So so you went through that series of injections, and then didn't quite see that amazing response you saw the first time, right? So then we end up doing a steroid injection.
Yeah.
And the steroid injection helped for how long?
A month or so, but the pain would come back.
Exactly. So then the pain came back, and we were
Yeah.
like, hey, joint replacement or a different treatment.
And they already
And you were
said,
like,
yes,
different treatment.
different treatment.
Yeah,
I
for
didn't
sure.
want no
Yeah.
knee replacement.
So
for sure.
when we say different treatment, in the paradigm of treating knee arthritis, we have had this giant gap between when patients fail knee injections, there's really no great options for them until we get to a joint replacement.
Yeah.
And joint replacements for some patients, if we got to get them, we got to get them. But what about all those patients who aren't ready for one yet? What about patients that can't have a knee replacement? So now a new treatment has come on the market that started in Japan and East Asia about 15 years ago called Genicular Artery Embolization. I've done a number of videos on this.
Yeah.
And this is what we did for Dolores, a genicular artery embolization. So this is a completely new approach to treating pain. It's a completely new approach to treating inflammation, and it's breathing life into patients that have arthritis. And so if you're not ready for a joint replacement and you want another conservative, minimally invasive approach, genicular artery embolization might be just what you're looking for. I'll explain it just kind of very briefly. If you're more interested, please check out some of our other videos on YouTube. You'll be interested to see exactly what it does. But what genicular artery embolization does is it treats the angiogenesis. This is the formation of new blood vessels to help heal tissue. So when you have arthritis, it's broken down tissue. It's tissue that's not great. And so your body grows these new blood vessels to try to bring in oxygen and bring in fluids to help heal the joint. Unfortunately, these these blood vessels don't always behave the way they're supposed to, and they leak fluid or inflammation into the joint, and this creates an inflammatory cycle, upregulation of inflammation that damages the tissue. So it actually works against you. And it's literally like acid eating the cartilage. And so what we're trying to do is to stop that. We're trying to stop that inflammatory cycle. This is what viscosupplementation is trying to do. This is what steroids are trying to do. This is what anti-inflammatories are trying to do. But sometimes they're just not effective enough because there's so many blood vessels sourcing the fluid. It's just pouring fluid into the joint. So what we do is we go in through a blood vessel in the thigh. Of course, you experienced it. Down the thigh, we run a little catheter down the blood vessel to the knee joint. We're not in the knee joint per se, we're actually in the blood vessels that supply the knee joint. And the main blood vessels are called the genicular arteries. There's 8 of them. We put a little tiny catheter into them and we inject a contrast, and we're looking for something called hyperemia. Hyperemia is basically a bunch of contrast soaking into the little tiny network of blood vessels that's responsible for inflammation and pain. We treat it with these little tiny beads, these little tiny particles that stuff into the blood vessels, and it kills the blood vessels. It takes them away without having to surgically remove them. I mean, the procedure, I mean, how did it feel? Was it painful?
Oh no, it wasn't painful at all.
Easy procedure, right?
Easy procedure.
Takes anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes to do the procedure. So once we find the hyperemia response, we inject the particles and then we're done. 3 seconds later, when we do another, it's called an angiogram, whenever contrast is injected into a blood vessel, it's all done under x-ray guidance. We see the hyperemic response and we say, boom, afterwards we see the hyperemia is gone. We know that that's a successful treatment. We pull everything out. We use a little plug to seal the blood vessel so there's no bleeding, of course, and then the patient's done. In 30 to 60 minutes, we can treat the source of a patient's inflammation that's causing the joint pain. We can treat it, one and done, we call it, and this should hopefully last for 1 to 5 years and potentially up to 10 years from a single treatment. Fortunately, it can be repeated when the pain comes back, but we're talking, I mean, this is something that is very minimally invasive, done in the office, quick recovery at home. I mean, very simple process.
Very simple.
Very simple. So, and how are you feeling afterwards?
Great, great, great. I love it. No pain.
So you went from a 10 out of 10 pain, could barely walk at work, and now you're feeling amazing. And this, and tell everybody when we did this procedure.
We did this procedure in April.
So we did it in early April, and it's now December of 2024. So it's been 8 months, and she's still pain-free.
Pain-free.
So she's not perfect. She's not a 20-year-old anymore. She still has a little bit of difficulty going up and down stairs. She has a little bit of difficulty with her range of motion, and we're still encouraging her, of course, to do exercises and continue. So arthritis is something we can't cure it, but we're doing our best to manage it. And so we want to do everything that we can to manage arthritis pain, to manage the condition, teach patients what they can do at home on their own to continue managing it. And by God, we want to let joint replacement be the last option. And hopefully we never get there. That's our goal. That's our goal. So awesome. Well, Dolores, thank you so much for telling us about your experience. We're so happy that you would be willing to take the time to share with our audience and everyone watching the video today on what your experience was like. It means a lot to us, and it means a lot to everybody watching, because they want to see real people who have gone through, the things that we do in the office. So it's awesome. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.